Welcome back, True Seeker. We are going in greater detail today into the destruction of the Tropicana Hotel the morning that Milton made landfall on Florida, ripping off the roof of Tropicana Stadium in Florida. And if you watch CNN's coverage of Milton, they had Anderson Cooper, who might very well have been in a green screen studio, or if not, the supposed coverage was that he was in Bradenton, Florida all day getting soaked. And he did take a piece of styrofoam to the face, which reminded me of when they had Sarah Seidner there in Ferguson for when they bust in the rioters to burn down the town after the staged Michael Brown psyop. She also took a piece of styrofoam to the head. But anyway, if you missed Anderson Cooper, they have him standing in Bradenton all night. And that's where Tropicana, the orange juice company, was established again in 1947, the same year that Project Cirus happened, the first U.S. military experimentation with hurricanes. And that took place October 13th, 1947. We're very near the anniversary. So we're going to go into greater detail on this. And again, we're going to talk about how the destruction of the Tropicana Hotel, no one would dare question if that was purposeful. We're going to parallel that engineering wonder that is the demolition of structures. We're going to parallel that to, is it possible that they've also figured out how to engineer and destroy through weather warfare, something that the Geneva International Convention banned in 1977. And is it not 77 years later, since 1947, when Tropicana was formed and Project Cirus occurred? So we're going to talk about that. And then we're also going to talk about the 19 tornadoes in Florida that killed at least 4 people. I mean, how many times have you seen the same thing? At least 4. Does anyone pay attention to the patterns and just how redundant it is? At least 4 dead, at least 4 killed. In this mass shooting, at least 4 dead. At least 4, at least 4, at least 4. Does anybody notice these things? There's a reason they always report at least 4. It's because in the occult, 4 is the number that symbolizes death. The media reports the same stuff over and over and over, and seemingly somehow very few people catch on. But of course, on the 19th of July, that movie came out about tornadoes, and we're going to get to that as well. Twisters, the sequel from the big 90s hit. And funny enough, the director of that film went to Yale like Ron DeSantis. And of course, this storm made landfall on Yale's birthday, October 9th. If you read my website yesterday, I also said why St. Petersburg might get the worst of it in light of how old the National Weather Service is. That turned out to be true. I put that up at a point in the day where they couldn't decide if it was going to hit near Tampa or Sarasota, the eye of the storm. But anyhow, Tropicana Field, the ugliest stadium in baseball, got its top torn off on the same day that the Tropicana Hotel was destroyed. And after 67 years, the Tropicana Hotel came down. We'll get to why that matters in light of all the water in Florida and the history of Project Cirus. But look at this, you guys. Look at the Gematria of Tropicana and Hurricane. There should be some familiar numbers here. Remember, we just had Hurricane Helene form on September 25th, the anniversary of JFK's weather control speech, again given to the United Nations, September 25th, 1961, part of the historical record. JFK talked about the future of weather control to the United Nations on the day leaving 97 days left in the year. He was then assassinated in 63 years to the day later of his speech. Hurricane Helene is forming. 146 days after The Rock's 52nd birthday, when he was a Miami hurricane and has a 5-2 birthday, the same day the National Weather Channel was established in history. Again, the first act of weather warfare in 1952 on the Jesuit order's birthday. But just look at these numbers up here. When that storm formed on JFK's anniversary of his speech, the guy who was assassinated at 46, the first Catholic president, not unlike Joe Biden, the second Catholic president, number 46, elected exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, after the death of his son Beau Biden at age 46. Again, we predicted more than a year in advance why Joe Biden would become number 46. Anyhow, when that Hurricane Helene formed, it was 56 days before Joe Biden's birthday. But yes, just look at the gematria of Tropicana and Hurricane. And how many times have we talked about these same numbers over and over? The movie Face Off came out in 97. The characters in that movie are Castor and Pollux. The mayor of Tampa is Jane Castor. The feast date for Castor and Pollux is the same day that Tampa was established in history, July 15th. Again, none of these things are an accident. It's all perfectly planned and coordinated. Tropicana, Hurricane, again, just let it absorb how perfect that gematria is in light of what we've already been talking about for the last 2 weeks with what they just did with Helene. And we're going to add on to it because there's even more. Now, notice that Tropicana Field was established March 3rd, or that was its grand opening. Funny enough that this storm just hit 146 days before the anniversary of its opening. Another 33 special, huh? What are the odds of this? The Tropicana gets its roof torn off 146 days before the anniversary of the grand opening on the same day they demolished the hotel. Was this demolition purposeful? I'll ask again. Now, remember, Milton also equates to 34, like Cirus, the name of the project that happened in 1947, the same year that Tropicana, the brand, was established in Florida. And again, this storm that just landed on October 9th, that was 34 days before November 12th. What's November 12th? That's the Superior General's birthday, the leader of the Jesuit order, Arturo Sosa. And again, the first act of weather warfare admitted to on the Jesuit order's birthday. Shout out to Gary. Yesterday, he sent us the document. Apparently, a Jesuit priest in the year 1772 was theorizing about the future of weather control and the use of weather as a weapon. Again, the Jesuits are a military order that's controlled this nation since the capital moved to Washington, D.C. No doubt about it. That's where they set up camp. And again, there's a reason they moved Inauguration Day to 20/1, the 201st day of the nation's age, as again, we'll get to. But yeah, just look at the gematria of Cirus and Milton and think about how perfect it is and how it's also 47 like the year it happened in. Anderson Cooper standing all night in Bradenton where it was once established. Now, again, we've been talking about how Milton equals 83 and it's going to make landfall on the day, leaving 83 days left in the year. Apparently, they made the storm speed up because through the better part of the day, CNN had said the storm was going to hit somewhere close to midnight, possibly even early in Thursday. But somehow it got 3.5 hours ahead of schedule and hit at 8:30 p.m. on the day, leaving 83 days left in the year. Near Siesta Key, because you got to be asleep to not know what's going on. But Milton, again, 83, if you're new here, the 4 base ciphers of the English language, the alphabetic order in reverse, and both orders with numerology. Flood, Earth, and Enlil have perfect overlap in nearly every cipher. And again, Enlil is the Babylonian god of storms and flooding, and this code of letters and numbers is part of Kabbalah, which goes back to Babylon. 52, the first act of weather warfare. The Weather Channel established on May 2nd. The Air Force document from 1996, Owning the Weather by 2025, is a 52-page document. How many times we talked about this same thing over and over? Why I said after Maui burned down, synced up with The Rock and his character Moana, or Maui, the fire god in Moana, I said right after that, I said, just wait until he turns 52 on May 2nd in 2024. We'll see the worst hurricane season probably ever. That's what they're saying right now. That these last two storms are two of the worst in the last century, and five storms so far have made landfall on the U.S. more than the last 4 years combined. Again, this isn't nature. This is a sick joke, and let's not forget how The Rock. Not only was he the Miami Hurricane, but he was also inspired by the boy named Milton with Down syndrome, which equals 56 in the same cipher as Tropicana and Hurricane. Notice where it made landfall, not far from the 83rd meridian west either. Don't forget it was on the 27th parallel. We'll come back to that. But again, Project Cirus, however you say it, Cirus, however you say it, it doesn't matter. It happened in 1947. Look it up. It's part of the official record. The first military experimentation with a hurricane. They take down the Tropicana after 67 years on the day that all this water comes and floods Florida, creates all this destruction. Project Cirus. I don't know how to say it. Doesn't matter again. 67 just like water. Okay? 67 just like water. And notice from the anniversary, April 4th, right? April 4th, there's a day in history. R.I.P. MLK, killed in the big Jesuit ritual in 68, the year he got his head, with a hole in it. That was the 95th day of the leap year. He was named after Martin Luther, who wrote the 95 Theses. Again, the Jesuits were credited 201 months after Martin Luther pinned the 95 Theses to Castle Church. The nation's first gun control legislation came 201 days after MLK got assassinated. We're going to get to all the 201s that they got going on with this one as well. But isn't it wild that from April 4th, the grand opening, to the anniversary of its destruction, October 9th, the day that the storm tears the top off of Tropicana Field, was 189 days, and they're known for orange juice, and orange juice is 189. Part of me thinks there's an OJ joke here. You know what they did with OJ Simpson, right? Simpson equals 105, dead before the 105th NFL season that ends with Super Bowl 59. OJ dead 59 days after the Super Bowl. Ephesians 6, verses 5 through 9. Slaves, obey your masters. The word slave equals 59 when you run the alphabetical order forwards, 76 when you run it in reverse. Masters also 76. OJ's dead at 76, 59 days after the Super Bowl, and announced at the exact same time the Masters is teeing off. And we just saw the Saints get the very symbolic win, or excuse me, the Chiefs just on Monday Night Football got the very symbolic win over the Saints, who are hosting Super Bowl 59, 59 days after Patrick Mahomes Sr.'s father, who was drafted by Minnesota. The only two teams to start 5-0 in the 50th NFL season was Super Bowl IV, the year the Chiefs beat the Vikings. The Vikings and the Chiefs were the only teams to start 4-0 and 5-0 this year. Last year, we told you if the Chiefs started the year 4-1 versus the Vikings, that would symbolize that they'd be winning their fourth Super Bowl and becoming 4-2 on the 42nd day of the year, as they did, just like how they won their first Super Bowl 4 over the Vikings. And not to mention the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing the Saints this week, who won the Super Bowl after the purposeful flooding by Katrina, where the federal government was completely inept to the response. Now in 2024, 19 years later, dum-dums think like, oh, it's the Democrats who are bad at responding to storms. Oh, how did the Republicans do in that one? You gotta realize both of these political parties are two wings of the same bird, manipulating really dumb people. And I see a lot of people out there angry at both sides of the party and talking about how dumb the other side is. All of you need to look in the mirror and see how dumb all of you are. All of you who are still voting in rigged selections and validating this tyrannical government that does nothing but lie to you and give you nothing but rigged selections and shittier candidates with every election cycle. Again, it's time to look in the mirror. And all of you think the orange man is going to come back and save us. Was he not the guy who went along with the Switzerland bank agenda, the biggest scam in the history of the world? Was he not the one perfectly in place for all of the rituals, which I wrote a book about in 2020 that you probably still haven't read? And it's too bad you didn't, because you probably wouldn't have myocarditis And you probably also would have been like, damn, he was right on in the book he put out in the middle of 2020 about how they'd wind down their scam as soon as the year of the tiger came around, which is exactly what they did, because we've always been ahead of the curve. Anyway, 189 days, you guys. The Orange Juice Company, their hotel in Vegas, the destruction, the field, the mockery. Oh, yeah, by the way, 189 days is 27 weeks. Rituals 27, like MLB. We're in the heart of the postseason. By the way, we tore up the divisional round again yesterday. Yankees got their 330th win versus the Royals. Exactly 330 days after King Charles' birthday. Just like when the Royals beat the New York Mets in the 111th World Series, that was synced up with the Queen born on the 111th day of the year. It's 9 years later, they're still syncing up the rigged baseball Royals team with the royal family. Again, you can go on and on. Yesterday, the Dodgers got their 131st postseason win, 131 days after Dave Roberts' birthday. Shohei Ohtani, 131, the Japanese star. Dave Roberts, born in Japan. Shohei Ohtani equals 131. Detroit equals 44 like Wednesday. They got their 44th home win of the year. And the Mets, who won the 86 World Series, which was the 83rd edition, yesterday beat the Phillies on the day leaving 83 days left in the year and got their 57th postseason win. Like Mets equals 57, like World Series equals 57. Tribute to the past. And by the way, Mahomes keeps wearing that Mets jersey. He represents Missouri, the 24th state, and his father played for the Mets 24 years ago. Yeah, there's a lot more I could say about it, but just want to remind you about how rigged it all is, because Tropicana Field did get its roof torn off, and that is an MLB stadium, and these things are not an accident. All right, so here's the other piece of it. 19 tornadoes to go with the Twisters movie coming out on the 19th of July. And this year, there's been crazy tornado patterns all over the country, parts of the country that have never seen tornadoes before. A neighborhood in Cleveland got wiped out this year. I mean, ask the people of Cleveland if they ever remember that happening before. And don't forget, Donald Trump's trying to become the nation's second Grover Cleveland. A fat, obese slob with a mail-order bride and a split-term president. And don't forget, he announced in 2022 that he's running for 2024, and Grover Cleveland was the 22nd and 24th president. But look at this. 19 tornadoes touched down in Florida ahead of Hurricane Milton landfall. Twisters came out on July 19th, 2024, the 201st day of the leap year. And from that day to Milton was a span of 83 days, like Twisters equals 83, like Milton equals 83, like Flood equals 83, like Earth equals 83. Again, like Enlil equals 83, like Genesis 8:3, where the biblical flood ends. And, it's funny that it ends after 150 days, because it dawned on me that Milton Bradley, the board game guy, and by the way, they made a board game for Milton the Monster, but Milton Bradley, whose name equals 150, he died on the 150th day of the year. But yes, October 9th, the day leaving 83 days. Again, the storm hitting at 8:30 p.m. July 19th, the day that this film came out in the leap year, was the 201st day of the year. Again, weather warfare is the work of the Jesuits. I guarantee nobody theorized it before them. Gary found even more evidence, and I've been saying this forever, but now Gary, what he dug up about the priest in 1772 that was theorizing this. You know what's funny about that too? 1772 was 1 year before Art of War was published by the Jesuit priest Father Amiot. Again, a lot of you guys have heard of the text Art of War. You've probably never read it. You should, because it's about war through trickery and deception. It's better to destroy your enemy without them even knowing you did it. See how it fits into so perfectly? But again, just look at the overlap with weather control in the Jesuit order. Remember, we're in the time of the first Jesuit pope, Pope Francis. The Jesuits are from France. The last French pope was the 201st. Pope Francis, again, the first Jesuit pope, the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. His birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 201, just like Ignatius Loyola, who's the founder of the Jesuits. But yes, when this storm made landfall yesterday, it was also 69 days before the Pope's December 17th birthday. And remember what happened in Dubai at the beginning of the year? It was the craziest weather event at the start of the year, the insane rainfall that came down and caused all that destruction over in the United Arab Emirates. They said it was the worst rainfall in 75 years of tracking. What I was covering that day was how that was 201 days before the anniversary of JFK's weather control speech on September 25th. And then sure enough, Helene formed on that day. And we all know what that just did. And now here's Milton right behind it. The director of Twister went to Yale. And again, just like Ron DeSantis, remember Ronald Dion DeSantis equals 109, like October 9th. Weather, military, The Rock, they all equal 109. October 9th was the 161st day of the Rock's age. Miami Hurricanes 161. Again, just how layered all of this is. Weather, military, The Rock, 109. The Rock inspired by Milton, the man with Down syndrome. Lee Isaac Chung, the Chinese director of Twisters, when China is open about their weather modification programs. And that was the last time the US media covered it. And now they all have amnesia and say it's impossible for anybody to influence the weather, even though this government has been researching weather warfare since at least 1947. And remember, as we covered yesterday, Joe Biden became a senator in 1973. That was the year Congress began debating banning weather warfare, because that was the same year the conversation began in Geneva, where eventually it was signed off on in 1977. But Joe Biden with the amnesia, with the dementia and everything else going on with that guy, they got him on TV yesterday saying that you've lost your mind if you think governments can control the weather. Well, that's weird, Joe, because right when you were a younger man and became a senator, they were working on banning it. And then Carlos Jimenez, the politician down in Florida, they literally banned weather warfare, the U.S. federal government signing the same bill January 17th, 1980, which was his 26th birthday. He used to represent the 26th District of Florida. He was the one making the rounds yesterday saying that you need to get your head examined if you think the government can have any impact on the weather. Weird. They chose the guy, literally, whose birthday it was the day the U.S. federal government signed off on the ban. And it was Jimmy Carter back then who was president, who just passed 2 years of surviving hospice care where his wife couldn't last 2 days. Isn't that weird? I forget, which politician's funeral did they wheel him out for on like a standing dolly earlier this year? Looked like he was a vegetable. Apparently he's still living, but they were like wheeling him around on a dolly. I forget, whose funeral was that? Like, this looks like Weekend at Bernie's. Are we sure he's even still alive? Never seen a man wheeled around on a dolly before. Jimmy, there he is. The president of the United States is wheeled around on a dolly. Apparently he's still breathing. Like one of those wax sculptures you see down at, well, what's the wax sculpture place? They got one of like every celebrity, including The Rock. Weekend at Bernie's White House edition. The last 2 years of Jimmy Carter's life. Apparently he's living to vote for Kamala. How many dicks did you suck? Anyway, Milton the Monster, the game by Milton Bradley. Isn't it nice? Ages 5 to 12. Milton Bradley, 150 and 201, just like Order of Illuminati's 201 and Illuminati's 150. Remember when Alec Baldwin smoked the Ukrainian woman on the set of Rust right before Russia-Ukraine, where Joe Biden and Putin got together on Pearl Harbor Day, 201 days after the first ever Jesuit Nation year began. But Alec Baldwin smokes the Ukrainian woman 201 days after his birthday at 1:50 local time. They had to report to you the 1:50 local time. And then, of course, Baldwin's birthday is the 93rd day of the year. Order of Illuminati is also 93. They say the sun's 93 million miles away, or 150 million kilometers, the thing that illuminates the world. His birthday is the day they buried Brandon Lee in history, on the 93rd day of 93, when his father died while filming Game of Death on the 201st day of the year. which was July 20th, typically the 201st day of the year in a non-leap year. Of course, that's the day of the moon landing in history, like how the moon is illuminated by the sun. Again, Illuminati 150, Order of Illuminati 201. Heliocentrism also equals 150 and 201, which was agreed to in the 16th century. The century the Jesuits were created, when the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt created the Illuminati. Hurricane Helene, the word Helene means shining. If you look up Castor and Pollux, they represent bright light. Jane Castor, the mayor of Tampa, when Castor and Pollux feast day, again, is Tampa's birthday. Jokes upon jokes. And again, the Project Cirus, we talked about how it equals 67. It also equals 86, and Tampa got hit 86 days after Tampa's birthday. Again, Cat's Cradle, Vonnegut's book about weather warfare with Ice 9 equals 67 and 86. And again, his brother Bernard Vonnegut is one of the GE scientists who invented it. He's the one who figured out that silver iodide in the sky brings rainfall. And Milton the Monster also equals 86, with Tampa getting flooded 86 days after its birthday. Castor also equals 86, the name of the mayor, like they're casting spells. Florida 65, like Milton the Monster came out in 65, 59 years ago, like Jane Castor against the 59th mayor of the city. And October 9th was 59 days after the harp patent date, August 11th, which was in 87. And again, coming back to Milton Bradley, it's another Milton who fits in here, who had the Milton the Monster game, because again, Milton the Monster, the cartoon, came out on October 9th. Now, again, Hurricane Milton, 59 years to the day later. Again, Maui burned up from the winds of Hurricane Dora, 4 years, 4 number of deaths. A lot of people were killed. We still haven't gotten the true stats on the 4th anniversary of Dora the Explorer ending. But look at this. The creator of Milton the Monster was Harold Seeger. Let me know if it's setting in yet. From Harold Seeger's birthday anniversary, May 16th, to the debut of the cartoon, which is also now the anniversary of Milton the Monster. And realize they were referring to the hurricane as a monster all over. I covered this in my video yesterday. CNN's first headline was "Monster Milton lands on Florida." And they had to tell you at 8:30 p.m., a few paragraphs down. But look at this. From the creator of Milton the Monster, Harold Seeger, from his birthday anniversary, 146 days. I mean, did I not just get done talking about this with The Rock and Hurricane Helene? Here, let's do it one more time. The Rock date of birth. I mean, how many things can be a coincidence? Here, May 2nd. Hurricane Helene formed September 25th. Here, let's do it. May 2nd, 2024. September 25th, 2024. 146 days later. Remember, Rock You Like a Hurricane, the song by the Scorpions, when The Rock was the Scorpion King. From the anniversary of that song coming out to the hurricane forming was 239 days later, the 52nd prime. The singer of the Scorpions, his birthday is May 25th, which is the 146th day of the year in a leap year. The new quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes is Cam Ward. Cameron Ward equals 52 like Hurricane. Scorpions also equals 52. His birthday is also May 25th, the 146th day of the leap year. And again, he came up from Eastern Washington, which had the terrible windstorm the same day the hurricane formed on the anniversary of JFK's weather control speech. But yeah, I mean, you got to just be like, I can't even comprehend like how special of a brand of stupid you would have to be to think all of this is some kind of accident. Especially since I've been here over a decade now, explaining the same stuff year after year. And isn't it funny how Harold Seeger died at 87, and the patent for harp came out in 87, and the Pope right now is 87. Keep in mind the Catholic Church is 87. Who else would want to play God and destroy people with floods like they are God? In Genesis 6:6, when, again, this Helene thing just happened 66 years to the day of the last Helene. If you don't know the Bible, that's where God decides he's going to flood the world and kill people. In Genesis 6:6, he's fed up with mankind, which equals 66. Like man's made on the 6th day, and Protestant Bibles are 66 books. Yeah, Monster Milton lands on the anniversary of Milton the Monster cartoon. And again, I mean, you look up this Milton the Monster cartoon, the mockeries just, I mean, again, the cartoons are more true than the news. Overview: the series starred Milton the Monster, a Frankenstein looking monster. There's probably an Aaron Judge joke here because he's the closest thing we've ever seen to Frankenstein with our own eyes. He had a good day yesterday. A Frankenstein looking monster with a flat top, seemingly hollow head, which emitted various quantities of white steam or smoke based on his mood or situation. He was created by mad scientist Professor Montgomery Weirdo and his assistant Count Kook. And isn't it funny how that's what they want to do to people who catch on? They always want to call us names. We're weirdos. We're kooks. We're crackpots. We're tinfoil hatters. We're paranoid. We're conspiracy theorists. Or is it that we're well researched and we have eyes to see and we're not anybody's fool falling for people who've been lying to us for all of our lives, like the talking heads on TV? It ran 26 episodes. Again, they got the guy from the 26th district in Florida who literally was 26 years old the day that the U.S. government signed off on the weather warfare ban, January 17th, 1980. And he's making the rounds. Carlos Jimenez. Here, let's try calling his office again this morning. Let's try calling his office this morning. Let's call him one more time. Yesterday we got the voicemail. Maybe he's back in. Carlos, here he is, born in 54. Go think of it. He has the exact same birthday as RFK Jr., January 17th, 54. Both born on the same day, these two. Isn't it funny? He's Cuban-born American, too, because Fidel Castro, who's Jesuit educated, he said that the Americans were controlling the weather. I think there's another joke here. And don't forget how they did Castro. Castro and his son died in the same ritual, perfectly synced with the Jesuit Pope. But here, let's call his office one more time. All right, here we go. It's 3 hours later on the East Coast right now. I'm out here on the West Coast. It's 6:30 a.m. out here, but it's 9:30 there. They should be up and working and answering the phones. There are concerned citizens who want some representation. Let's see. Are we going to get the voicemail again? 305-222-0160.
Good afternoon. Good morning. Thank you for calling the office of Congressman Carlos Jimenez. May I help you?
Yes. I left a voicemail yesterday. I saw the good congressman was making the waves in the media, saying that people need to get their heads examined if they think the government can control the weather. And I just thought it was interesting that on his 26th birthday, if I'm not mistaken, if his birthday is January 17th, 1954, it was his 26th birthday, January 17th, 1980. And I saw he started out in the 26th district in Florida. It was his 26th birthday that the U.S. federal government passed legislation banning weather warfare, which was following up on what they passed in Geneva in 1977 on May 18th. And I just thought it was really curious that an elected official from, our government would make such remarks, because I feel like our elected representatives should be knowledgeable about history. Project Cirus, that began in 1947. The U.S. military, they were experimenting with what influence they could have in hurricanes. That first experiment took place October 13th, 1947. Funny enough, that's the same year that Tropicana, the orange juice brand, was established in Bradenton, Florida, where Anderson Cooper was apparently standing all last night. On the same day, they demolished the Tropicana Hotel in Vegas. And of course, the Tropicana roof got its destroyed at the baseball stadium. I guess all these things are coincidental. Again, weather warfare was researched back then as a weapon, as a destructive act, the potential of it, how it could be used on our enemies. So I find it very interesting how they would destroy the Tropicana Hotel, and then, this coincidence with, that experiment in 1947, the same year that brand was created. But then also, you can look into Project Popeye, where the U.S. government said they conducted 50 successful cloud seeding experiments over the Vietnamese troops. That's an admission by the U.S. military. So I'm just wondering who needs to get their head checked. But then there's also Project Storm Fury, which went from 62 to 83. That was the U.S. military experimenting with hurricanes for 21 years. And it is quite funny. That it ended in 83 because Milton made landfall yesterday on the day leaving 83 days left in the year. And they said reportedly at 8:30 p.m., and I thought, wow. And then they even talked about how there were 19 tornadoes that killed at least 4 people. And I thought that's weird because they put out that tornado movie earlier this year on the 19th of July, 83 days before Milton made landfall. And, this might sound a little bit wild, but that movie came out on the 201st day of the leap year. If you look into it, Lyndon Johnson, he said at Jesuit Holy Cross, 201 days after JFK was assassinated, he said on June 10th, 1964, who controls the weather controls the world. And it's interesting that he said it at Jesuit Holy Cross because the first act of weather warfare ever admitted to was by the Royal Air Force, August 15th, 1952, the Lynmouth flood that killed 30-some people. August 15th is the Jesuit order's birthday. And you can look it up. The Jesuits have a document from 1772, the year before they published Art of War, theorizing about the future of weather control and weather warfare. All the way back to 1772, they were theorizing this. And then lo and behold, our government's been conducting weather military experiments since at least 1947. And again, I would think a congressman who even had the bill passed on his birthday would be the first to know about it. And it's not just that either. It's that President Joe Biden, we all know, he's losing his mind a little bit. But if you look into it, he became a senator in 1973. That was actually the year that Congress began debating banning weather warfare after what we did in Vietnam. And you might have heard of the author Kurt Vonnegut. He wrote the book Cat's Cradle about Ice Nine and mad scientists and military and how they could kill and destroy the world. His brother, Bernard Vonnegut, worked at General Electric, and his brother is the one who discovered that if you put silver iodide in the sky, it will attract a lot of moisture and produce a lot of rainfall. So, popular authors, popular fiction, real-based history, all of these things are very real, yet we have our elected officials going on TV and making headlines saying you need to get your head checked if you think these things are possible. My message to the congressman is he needs to do a lot better job with his research, and we shouldn't have such ignorant people in office who are either ignorant or blatantly lying to the American people and part of a major cover-up. And again, if people would look more into history, they'd find out what Thomas Jefferson said way back when, before him and John Adams coincidentally died on the exact same day, July 4th, 1826. It's funny that they were both very outspoken about the Jesuits and how they could destroy this nation if they came out of suppression. Again, there's a reason they both died together on July 4th and both spoke out against the Jesuits. And there's a reason this nation's capital was moved to Washington, D.C., which is exactly where the Jesuits set up camp. And there's a reason this nation's inauguration day was moved to January 20th, which the majority of the world writes 20/1 like 201, which is also the 201st day of the nation's age. If you look into the Jesuits, you'll find we're in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, and he's the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. You'll find that their order was preserved by 201 Jesuit priests in the time of their suppression, and you will find that they were created exactly 201 months after Martin Luther penned the 95 Theses, which also does go with Martin Luther King Jr. getting assassinated on the 95th day of the year, and this nation's first gun control legislation coming exactly 201 days later. These people have been destroying this nation symbolically, ritualistically, and we have politicians like Mr. Jimenez who are either blind to history or they're part of this cabal, and they severely need to be either enlightened or exposed. But what I would like to see from Mr. Jimenez is for him to do research on this voicemail that's being left with you, and I would like to see him make an apology to the nation, and then I would like to see him
since it did happen on his birthday, see if we need to reintroduce a new bill, once again banning weather warfare, so we don't have to see the mockery that we saw yesterday as they demolished the Tropicana and then they demolished Tropicana Stadium and a lot of people's livelihood in what surely is an act of weather warfare, because like what Thomas Jefferson said, this nation, if you bring back a central bank, won't be controlled by this nation. It'll be controlled by warmongers and evil people who will, again, it's not just him. Eisenhower told us too when he left office. He said there is a military-industrial complex and it'll grow to be worse than your worst nightmare if something's not done about it. And by the way, look into the cartoon Milton the Monster coming out October 9th, 1965, meaning yesterday. The storm that was referred to by CNN as Milton the Monster made landfall exactly 59 years to the day later in the time of Jane Castor, the 59th mayor. And funny enough, Mr. Jimenez should also look up HARP and its patent date of August 11th, 1987, which was 59 days before October 9th, because HARP was military technology that was designed to influence storms and even create them. So Mr. Jimenez did a major disservice to everybody yesterday with his very ignorant and false remarks. And I do hope to see him making a major apology and writing the legislation to again ban weather warfare, because I think it would be in all of our interests, minus the central bankers who profit off of these scams as they come in and steal land. And again, our taxpayer dollars go to them. Where I'm not done with my message. This all needs to be relayed. They are making money off of us because our government is going to get money from those central banks, and they will make a profit on that. They make interest. They make billions in interest off of all of these scams. So I would really like to see Carlos Jimenez apologize, please.
Okay, I do apologize for interrupting you, but so you left a message between yesterday and today.
Yeah, but his voicemail is very short, so this is a longer one with even more information.
All right, and what is your name again?
My name is Zachary Hubbard. I am an author. If he wants to be a part of my next book, he's welcome to. I wrote a book about this in 2017, The History of Weather Warfare. So, again,
I was going to ask you, my next question was going to be, what do you do for a living?
I'm an author.
There.
I speak out against the tyranny of our government. I was 18 years old when 9/11 happened. You had to be brain dead to not see that was a major lie as well.
Okay, Mrs. Zachary. All right. So I've heard your information. I will forward the message to the right staff. And I do hope that someone from, I don't hope, I expect the office to reach you back. It's going to be my DC office. You're calling the Miami office. And yeah, so thank you so much for your feedback. It is very valuable. What is your last name?
Hubbard. Zachary Hubbard. I can send the congressman a couple of my books if he'd like to read them and get educated. And let him know I'm thinking about running in his district. I'd love to debate him on the stage on this very subject. I think he's going to get smoked.
I would love to, yes, you can definitely either mail them to us or deliver them to us. I don't know if you're in the Miami area.
I'm all the way across the nation. I'm in Washington State. And I can tell you more about that too. Yeah, we had a very horrible windstorm here on the same day that Hurricane Helene formed on September 25th, which was the 63rd anniversary of JFK's weather control speech. So when Carlos Jimenez is saying people need to get their heads checked, he must not be realizing the same head that got a big hole in it was the same head that introduced to the world the emerging technology of weather control back on September 25th, 1961. So yeah, Mr. Jimenez needs to get educated.
I understand. So, how do you spell your last name?
Hubbard.
Okay. All right, sir. I will have somebody from the office reach back to you. Thank you for your time, and thank you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You have a good day.
You too.
What do you think? Is it time to run for office? All right. All right. Shout out to King Richard TV. You didn't have to do that, buddy. I appreciate it, though. Well, that's $2 towards my campaign to run for he's now in the 28th district. He started in the 26th, but maybe we do need to run for office. Again, I don't really want to be a politician or rule over people, but if I was a congressman, people would actually listen to what I said, so. Oh, she said somebody was going to call back. Nobody's ever called back, so I'm going to have my phone ring around all day so I don't miss it. But hey, we got $2 towards the campaign.
Hey, for the guy who said, "Did you not?" I left a really long voicemail because nobody picked up the phone, but the voicemail allowed me to leave like a 10-minute message. I left them a really long message about what they did there with moving up the undermining of the Second Amendment to exactly 33 days before the election in Massachusetts, Kennedy Land, where he got his head blown off on 11/22 in the middle of Dealey Plaza, named after a Scottish Rite Freemason. Micah, you didn't see yesterday's live stream. Somebody left a comment about how it was dead on about who was going to win the championship over there in Australian rugby. I called that at the beginning of the season based on the mass shooting hoax. You know, you're saying Dakota Australian Sports already gave you a future winner, and I even forgot about it because I got too many things to keep track of. So, Micah, follow the channel. You could have hit yourself a nice future. Somebody was in the chat yesterday talking about it. They said, "Zach, you nailed it. Just like you said, that rugby team won." Yeah, man. That's why they had it land on Siesta Key because that's a part of the joke too. They know everybody's asleep. It does, man. Yeah, the $2 campaign is transparent. Oh man, it's a good thing I eat like a bird. I can campaign for 6 months on 2 cans of black beans. All right. Somebody said I'd be dead. Well, you know what? There's worse things than death. Yeah, there's worse things than death. I'll tell you that much. All right. All right. I'm checking out the chat, see if anybody else had any good information drops. Here, if anybody else has anything that we haven't covered so far, because there's always more. I'm sure there'll be many more great discoveries that I'm missing. But if anybody wants to hop on and tell me what else they see going on with this storm in the mockery, come let it be known. Yeah, you do Bible studies with this knowledge, you'll start to see how they put these English translations together. It's completely encoded. You know how sometimes you wake up in the morning and there's just like a song in your head and you're like, how is this song in my head? Uh you know the David Bowie song with Trent Reznor, I'm Afraid of Americans? I always wondered why at the end of that song David Bowie's saying, God is an American. It's like, what did David Bowie know? Is David Bowie even really dead? Him and the Stone Temple Pilots singer both died days apart, and they both had very similar albums with covers. I gotta go back and look at all that, but David Bowie know like who's pushing the button on this weather control? Are these the Americans he's afraid of? Zach and Sweet Lady for president. That'd be an interesting ticket. Um, well, thank you very much, Be the Truth Seeker. Appreciate the generosity. You guys, we're up to $17 to campaign for Mr. Jimenez's spot. You know, imagine if I was Congressman Hubbard making the rounds yesterday talking about weather warfare instead of his headline going everywhere about how you need to get your head checked if you think the government has any impact on weather control. Again, I see. To me, it's a hard thing because I want to tear down the government, and I don't think people should rule over other people. I don't even believe in the concept of government, but at the same time, it's like you got to figure out a way to get yourself to a position where the masses will listen to you, and the masses are all indoctrinated, and all they listen to is authority. So I guess in a way, you have to get to be seen as some kind of authority. So I don't know. Maybe sometimes you gotta what is it? Don't hate the player, hate the game. I don't know. Maybe we got to start playing the game more intelligently. Yeah, the female caller yesterday, it was nice to hear her voice. You know, if I was single, I might have been trying to get her digits. Oh man, let's see. Who else should we call? Should we call Joe Biden? Should we call the White House? Do you guys remember the one time I called the White House late at night and they picked up the phone and I was tripping out. I was just like, I screwed it up because I was like, you guys answered the phone at 2 a.m? They're like, yeah, we're not supposed to do this. Click. I was like, what? Thank you, John W. How nice of you. Our campaign money is coming in. Here, let's try calling the White House just in case they do pick up again. If you guys, there was one stream I called like late at night out here. I was like, there's no way they're going to pick up. And then they did. And I just like, what? Let's try it out. Let's call the White House. I need some of that Kamala Harris 81 million in 24 hours money to make a successful run here. Remember, Joe Biden passes the torch at age 81 after he supposedly got 81 million when he's from Scranton, Pennsylvania off Interstate 81. And then Kamala sets a record with 81 million in the first 24 hours. Like, it's not all just number games. It's not all just a load of BS. All right.
Thank you for the White House comment line. The office is currently closed. Your comment is important to the president. Please call back between the hours of 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday through Thursday.
11 and 3.
Our number is 202-456-1111. Until then, you may send an e-message at www.whitehouse.gov/contact. Thank you for your call.
11 to 3. We know why they're keeping those hours. Nice little tribute to the Scottish Rite Freemasons. Scottish 113, House of the Temple in D.C. 11 to 3. Those are better than bankers' hours. The one time they did, they like picked up, it was like some crazy hour. I was like, how did they answer the phone right now? Well, that was disappointing. It's over an hour away. Yeah, well, maybe we will try the White House later. All right. Shout out to Mike Rosson, too, with the big 5. I was thinking I was going to have to survive on this campaign trail on 2 cans of black beans, but we're getting somewhere. We're up to 42, magic number. How about that? Minus the 30% that YouTube takes. YouTube makes a fortune off all the YouTubers. Hardly pays them anything. Steals their ad revenue. Takes 30% of super chats. It's like, I've been to your headquarters. It's not that fancy. It does look like a military base in the side of a hill guarded by police and foreign security on all sides. If you guys haven't been to the YouTube headquarters, you should check it out. It's like, it really is like a military compound. And there really are foreign security all around the building because no Americans work there, which is why they have no problem undermining the First Amendment. But Danny Sheehan. Is that a relative of Cindy Sheehan? I remember when the whole Cindy Sheehan thing was going on. Who's Danny Sheehan? I forget. Daniel Sheehan, attorney. Is this the right guy? Constitutional and public interest lawyer, public speaker, political activist, and educator. Am I looking at the right guy here? Is this the man we're talking about? He went to Harvard. He's got a better education than yours truly. Shout out to the Sun Devils. How do you escape the Matrix? I don't think you can. It's like a Hotel California. You can check in, but you can't never leave. You have a friend in the NFL? I'm not sure that every last player in the NFL is in on it. Where does he sit on the end of the bench? Okay. All right. If you guys think I should run for office so we can be seen as an authority and maybe make a greater difference in the world, think about supporting the Patreon or sending a little, donation money to any of the links in the description. based on what I see coming in, I'll decide if it looks like it's a feasible idea. I'm not going to hold my breath, I'll tell you that much. Especially with what YouTube's done to our traffic. Look at it, pitiful 300 people in the live stream. Again, when live streaming was a new thing, I had like 2,000 people in every live stream. Once upon a time when this channel got views. The work got too good, they had to destroy us. I look back when this channel was popular, my work was very mediocre back then compared to now. And of course it should have been, because we're years later in the process. We know a whole lot more, so. The mayor of Mexico died on the day, leaving 86 days left in the air. Got the old 86 treatment. Remember the ritual they did with the first female president of Mexico? You gotta love, in a very Catholic nation, the first female president's Jewish. I find that funny. How many people got assassinated in that election? I forget what the number was. Toronto Raptors. I don't know about any racist comments I've made. Sorry, and wrong picks. Sorry, we've been killing the world of sports more than anyone ever has in the history of the world. Putting out knowledge undeniable. Trolls like you come in here and hate. You deserve to get washed away in the next weather warfare storm. Loser trolls. Every last one of my haters is just nothing but a major loser. You guys are like literally the sorriest people to have ever existed. I mean, who before was laying it down? Like, again, Yankees picking up the 330th win versus the Royals 330 days after King Charles's birthday. Just clockwork. The whole world was blind to these things before yours truly came along. Showed you how it was all scripted. Yeah, it is always funny how the trolls always like try to make everything the opposite. I'm like someone who sticks up for all the minorities of the world. They always want to come here and say that I'm racist. It's like, it's weird. I don't know if there's ever been a lighter complected man speaking up for more darker complected people for such a long period of time, and proving his point in spades about how the agenda does target darker complected people. You got these turds that come in here, these Orwellian characters, want to flip everything on its head. All right, yeah, we'll leave it here for now, True Seeker. Again, you guys want to support the work, there's all kinds of places to do so in the description. Again, I mean, really, every American should be pledging $1 a month to what I do. We should have nearly 400 million rolling in a month. If that was the case, I guarantee you taxes would be down real fast, too. You'd be saving a lot of money if you invest in yours truly, because I would lead the revolution, and the federal government would be out of here. There'd be a lot less taxation without representation. Weather warfare would be a thing of the past. Problem is, people can't discern who the real leaders are. They can't discern what the truth is. They're all indoctrinated. They need the guys in the suits, the liars, to tell them what to think. Can't discern, no discernment. We're trying to... It can be changed, though. I mean, it's just like Cable 54 and They Live. You take down Cable 54, all of a sudden the spell's over. So, again, you get behind the right leaders, you might see it happen in your lifetime. All right, True Seeker, we'll leave it there. Until next time.